This is the Sports Content Gameplan, the podcast where we go behind the scenes with the creators shaping how we see sports today. I'm your host, Isaac Solino, and each week I have conversations with the people behind the videos, photos, stories, and strategies that brings the game to life. We talk creativity, storytelling, and the real work that happens behind every highlight. In today's episode, I'm joined by Jared Kleinstein, founder and CEO of Fresh Tape Media and Gondola. We're diving into Jared's incredible journey through the world of sports content. From his early days with the Tebowing meme to building Fresh Tape Media and launching Gondola to give creators the credit they deserve. Let's get into it. Jared, welcome to the Game Plan.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm stoked to be here.
How are you?
I'm not bad. Not bad. I got back late last night from a quick trip to New York, so the coffee is helping today. Let's just say that.
I'm very excited for this conversation. I've been following your work and the work you do with your companies for a while, so it's really excited to get into these things that we both work in with sports content. So I'm excited for this.
For sure. You know, it's fun for us being on the content side, the community side, the analytics side. And then I get to find people like you that kind of see both sides well. So stoked to help out.
I'm old enough to remember the Tebowing meme from back in the days. Was that your first foray in sports content?
Yeah, and it was a total accident, I guess. Because it wasn't my first foray, if we're being literal. So when I was in high school, I got an internship for Fox Sports Rocky Mountain here in Denver. And I got to write sort of the lines and scripts for the anchors that were going through Rocky's highlights. And I was like, this is a job. I'm getting paid to like watch Rocky's highlights and describe what's happening on the screen so that I could hear somebody on broadcast say it. And it felt so cool. And then I did absolutely nothing to drive that career forward. That was in like, I guess when I was a senior in high school, and then I went to college and then made a sports TV show in college with a friend of mine, but it was just a joke show for our local college TV station. And then I worked in real estate tech. So while I was doing that is when the Tebowing stuff happened, and it all kind of happened by accident.
And now you started with back in the day, and now you're building the Fresh Tape Media company. Mm-hmm. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so after I was in the real estate side, I started the Tebowing thing, and then I was at a company called Street Easy. I left there when we got acquired, a year after we got acquired by Zillow, a big tech company here in the States. I went over to Vine, and I was the head of sports for Vine for the 2 years before we shut down at the end of 2016. And I built these amazing relationships and connections with the sports creative community, the social media community. And I had this realization that I just didn't want to let that go. And I wanted whatever I did next to include the people that I had sort of built these relationships and friendships with. So I didn't know that I would start my own thing until a former colleague and I were out having drinks, and he said, you should start your own company. And I said, I don't want to be a consultant. And he said, then do an agency. And I said, I've never worked in an agency. I thought that in order to start an agency, you had to know anything about how agencies worked. And he said, you figure it out. And I don't know why, but I believed him. And I did the thing that I would actually recommend anybody do if they're thinking about starting a company is before I had any idea what it would be, I just asked former clients if they would work with me again and in what capacity. And I learned very quickly that a lot of people wanted to, but in so many different ways. And that was the beauty of starting an agency or a production company, is that you can solve other people's problems and they may be completely different from each other. One person may need set fabrication at an all-star game. One person may need social strategy for their live broadcasts. It's all, as long as, I could offer some sort of service to all of them, I knew that I could figure it out. And then that was January of 2017. So almost 9 years later, we're still kicking it.
Now looking back, was there any key moments that pushed you towards dedicating your career to sports content and the creative endeavors?
I think that when I was at Vine and I would be at like all-star. I only got the job as head of sports at Vine because they said, if you could work on any vertical, what would you do? And I said, sports. And they said, perfect, you're in charge of sports. So I didn't like earn it at all. It was kind of handed to me. And then, I mean, I'm grateful I didn't just get it handed to me and mess it up. Like I worked so hard because I loved it, but I learned very early on that I truly loved it and was not jaded. The more athletes I worked with, the more I enjoyed it. It never got like old. Like if I get to work with the Colorado Avalanche, is my favorite hockey team in the world, my favorite sports team in the world. If I get to work with them for the 12th time, it feels like the first still, and I still cherish it and feel grateful for this opportunity, because I know that if you told my 12-year-old self what I do for a living now, he'd be like, no, that's a job. So I think that knowing early on how much I enjoyed it, and that the more I was doing it, the more I liked it, was a sign that I was in the right space.
I'm just gonna do some quick questions also before we get into some other stuff. Do you have like a favorite channel or favorite social media?
It's a great question. Um, I mean, to be honest, I think that I am an equal opportunity player. I find myself like, if I literally took the amount of time on my phone that I use different social apps for, and I tried to figure it out, I would be like, yeah, you kind of use everything. You kind of love them all. And I think that on different platforms, I care about different things, right? Like when I'm on TikTok, I'm probably consuming more like dad humor and avalanche and golf highlights. And on Instagram, it's much more about my social graph, but within the social creative community. I think a lot of the people I follow are in the social creative world. So seeing what everybody else is doing. LinkedIn, I just love celebrating my friends being like making it. And I don't know, I just find that every one of them has different things that I fall in love with, but I don't even like, I can tell you everything that the Avalanche are doing on Instagram, but I couldn't tell you what their YouTube looks like. And I can tell you what the Broncos are doing on X or Twitter, but I couldn't tell you what they're doing on TikTok type of stuff. So I just find, different love from each platform and different channels I follow.
Do you have a favorite content that you like? Type
Good
of
question.
content?
So I am these days, I'm a sucker for creative storytelling and connection with athletes with a premise. Like, I don't want to hear necessarily another podcast of two people sitting in a room just like telling stories. I like when there's a shtick. I like the Hot Ones world. I like any kind of, I'm getting to know somebody, but I'm also seeing them through an experience, or I'm seeing them through some sort of a challenge. There's a reason to keep watching. There was like a show that BuzzFeed had years ago called Worth It. I don't think it's still around, but it was a show about different trying restaurants and seeing what was more worth it at its price point. And I loved the need to finish something out, even though I was also learning about individual restaurants. So that's kind of what I look for.
You've been working in this field for a long time, but do you have any creators that you still like, that you are inspired by?
That's a good question. Creators that I'm inspired by. I'm trying to think. What I really am impressed by is people who level up and evolve what they do and think about different business models along the way. Like Mark Rober is just like doing so much and caring about community impact and entertaining, and also like thinking like a normal YouTuber, but also thinking about sort of like the family friendliness and impact on kids. So it feels non-performative, and I feel really impressed by that. So that's the kind of person that I admire.
Do you have any favorite DM that you have received?
Favorite DM. I got a DM like the other day that was just somebody saying, somebody who I've definitely like met in the community, but didn't have like a close personal relationship with, and just sent a message saying, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you for creating Gondola, because it created this amazing tool for me. I can finally show the value of my work, and I'm just so grateful for what you built." And when we built it, I'm sure everybody has grandeur, like visions of impacting the world and changing the creative society around us. But you could tell me all the stats in the world of how many millions of credits we have, whatever. Getting an individual message of somebody saying that their life was genuinely impacted and improved by what we built, that's the right there. Pardon my French. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that. But that's what gives me sort of like yeah, we're doing the right thing. We're on the right path.
When you yourself or your company produces content, do you have how would you describe your own content in 3 words?
My own content is my dog and my kids, and that's it. I've become terrible. My wife had me go private because she didn't want just how often I was just posting stuff with my girls. I've got a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old daughter. Um, so my own personal content, that's it. And then in terms of like Fresh Tape, how our content looks, it's and like Gondola social content too, it's all kind of in the same vein of bringing joy, and trying to like solve creative challenges for people. So I look at every video and I know, oh, this is because they said they wanted this was the goal, but how the heck are we going to solve it? Or what is the creative way to tell this story? And I always think of like sort of the evolution and the journey from 0 to 100 and how it worked.
Like you mentioned, you've been working in tech and real estate and wine, and you've been working in the sports content field for a long time. So, how did those early experiences you think shaped how you think about content or community and the business side of creativity also?
A few things. Being on the product side at Street Easy, when I was in the real estate world, we really cared about agents getting credit for their deals. And I worked with engineer at the time, Jordan Anderson, who's still our like Gondola senior engineer. So we've been kind of working together for, over a decade now. And yeah, it's fun to realize that you're in the same mission in completely different fields. You're trying to help people get credit for their work. It's kind of fun to see that flow through. Also, on the content side, I look at old decks that I made from Vine, and they were principles that I could pitch today. They're the exact same things, like the way we talked about storytelling, the way we talked about hooks and getting people interested in a video, the way we talked about music and the impact of storytelling in general. Like I looked at an old deck, I was like, this is relatability. It's the same thing we tell people today for making TikToks or making 8-minute YouTube videos. So it's fun seeing that storytelling principles and what works for social video hasn't changed in 11 years. So I started at Vine September of 20 or August 24 or 2014. So that's, 11 years later.
That's cool to see that it's still like the same principles still work.
It's the same people. Like I get to hang out with my friends, and it's the coolest thing to see people that I worked with in 2014, where they are in their careers now and how cool they are. And that, like, I don't know, I'm just one of a crew of people that didn't give up yet.
So working with Fresh Tape Media, how many different sports or teams are you working with?
I don't know. That's a fantastic question. If I were you, I would just refer to gondola.cc/Fresh Tape Media to see all of our work. It's like a wild thing where every Tuesday we do project reviews and we can see the whole list of everything we are working on. And I'm still blown away by it, the amount of things that this team handles, and the amount of projects that are 2 weeks away, 2 days away, not 2 years away, 2 months away. We're not that good at forward thinking, but it's a lot of fun. It's also like not just sports anymore. We've done a lot of like tech work, media work. It used to be, 80/20, let's say. It's more like 60/40 now.
If we look at the sports content side, so you've been working with, I guess, leagues or clubs or athletes. What have you learned that separates good sports content from great sports content?
A lot of it is athlete buy-in from the get. I tell a story of the difference between a league media day and a red carpet at an award show. And at the red carpet at an award show, we did something for the SAG Awards a long time ago, and the talent would come down the red carpet. We'd say, "Hi, would you like to come over here and do a shoot?" Quick thing about, impact of strong female presence in your life. And somebody would say, "I'd love to. It would be an honor." And then their agent would be like, "No, she can't. She's got to be on stage in 15 minutes. And you'd be like, "Oh, I guess. Okay. Sorry for asking." Versus in sports, it's like somebody is telling the athlete, "Hey, you got to just do 5 minutes here and it'll be quick." But when you have the athletes that show up at a set, excited to be there, people that engage with the staff, like there's some athletes that'll show up at a set and introduce themselves to the videographers, the editors, the photographers, everybody on site, as if these people don't know who this superstar is. That kind of humility also translates to the content.
I'm also been working in this field for a long time, and the past few years the evolution has changed so much in the sports content world, like shifting towards more, the behind the scenes, the creator driven storytelling. From your perspective, what do you think sparked this shift in the content and why it's responding so well with the fans?
In terms of like creator-based storytelling,
Yeah.
I think that I think that the fans get a lot of opportunities to consume more content. We're just consuming so much more because it's all on our phones and whatnot. That we have been able to, as a culture, a community, try a lot of different things. Luckily, like, we've become also more analytical about why we do the work we do. But I used to talk about sort of this year it's trendy to do raw content that's like lo-fi, authentic, type of like shot with an iPhone, simple things. Next year, it's all about high quality, high, production level, commercial broadcast quality stuff. And it goes every year. That was how I thought it was. And I was wrong. It's become now where you have to do both. You have to have your highest level commercial quality productions. You have to have your lo-fi, authentic, real, relatable content. And then all these leagues, because they have so many different channels to publish things on, can iterate and see what works best. So when they see that the creator stuff is working best, it becomes both a good story to tell that this is a really great way to connect with fans, but it's also a data story that like we know this works.
Do you see anything this year that really excites you in the content, like anything new?
What have I seen that's really blown my mind? I think seeing how high the bar is set for what athletes are publishing on their own channels, whether it's like Bryson's shows or athlete podcasts, that high bar, it's not new. It's just that where it's coming from is like somewhere that we don't expect necessarily to be at the level it is. I'm trying to think what else I've liked that I've seen. It's not like a VFX style that's blowing my mind. I think there's some teams and editors that will constantly be coming up with something new and a new style that we haven't seen before. There's like a few teams have done this style last couple of days where they have a video playing and a static image of like a rotoed athlete who's like in a dunk position, but they're static and everything else is moving around them. And like we used to do all kinds of weird editing styles, like cloning people so it looked like they were like showing up multiple times and that kind of stuff. And I love seeing that people are still testing new things. And also, I'm very bullish on the AI world. So a lot there.
Bullish? What do you mean when you say bullish?
I think that everybody who used to think that they're going to try something new in After Effects to blow people's minds, or they would try something new in Premiere, is now thinking about like a next level. Are we learning how to code? Are we learning how to implement different AI technologies as scripts into the tools we use to like level up? I think that is like, as a lot of the tools have become democratized and a lot of people have access to the same tools and software products, it's the people that are now leveling up using new tools, not just like I'm using Sora now instead of using After Effects, more so just like, oh, I'm using SAM plus this tool to roto the players out and track their locations and then recreate things, or just even thinking about the simplest level of like these broadcasts that the folks are putting out, like with SpongeBob and them playing football. That would have felt like an impossible task 5 years ago. And if it can be done by the broadcasters, then it means that in the next few years between Runway and a bunch of the other tools, anybody will be able to make those kinds of things. That democratization is very cool for me.
If we switch over to Gondola, my personal experience, like I mentioned to you before, is when I found Gondola like this year, 7 or 8 months ago, my mind was kind of blown. For me, like it's exactly what I've been looking for, or what before you were like, trying to gauge your own impact, like in the content you create. You try to see your own impact. You have these Excel files where you try to write down your own numbers and what your content is doing, even when you're like searching for jobs or all those things, trying to what have you done. And seeing this is like, it's amazing to have this tool. So how did it even come about to start this business?
Similar to everything else that's happened in my life, it had no business plan, and it happened as an internal tool by accident. So what we when I was at Vine, I'll never forget like the first meeting we had with the NBA and Kevin Estevez and some people that are still there, saying, hey, we want to use their product, but we need to see the stats. We need to see how our vines are performing. And I just had this belief that you could be the best creator in the world or the best agency in the world. And if you couldn't tell people how their content was performing that you created, then you wouldn't be able to, show them reason to keep working with you. So probably a year into Fresh Tape, like 2018, not far, maybe 2019, I had this, must have been 18, that realization that I wanted to be able to offer our clients analytics. And every analytics tool in the world was dedicated to owned and operated. As in, if I wanted to track Fresh Tape Media's stats or Jared's stats, I could do that on my own pretty easily. That being said, if I wanted to track an NBA post this day and an NFL post the next day and a athlete's post or a brand's post, we were using Google Sheets, and we were pasting a link in and then typing in the amount of views and likes. And the second we hit like enter, the data was inaccurate, right? Like, so I thought this was terrible. I had a former Vine engineer, Ralph Holzman, built me a very simple, I guess it was pretty complicated. It wasn't as simple as I think of it. I made him build a whole admin website where we could paste any link and just say we made it and track the data. It was just for Fresh Tape. We used it for 2 years, didn't tell anybody about it. One day we were thinking of how to improve it. So we added just one feature, which is who played what role on the shoot. So I was the videographer, Max was the producer, Alana was a creative director, those kinds of things. And we used it for another 6 months, didn't think anything of it. And then we had this epiphany, like, wait, you can paste an Instagram link and see who the videographer was. That's IMDb for social. That's not a tracking site. You should probably let other people use this. And you should probably not call it Fresh Tape Admin. So came up with a new name. The premise being it was COVID, and I was on a gondola skiing, and I had like a thought to myself, on a gondola, when you're on it in COVID, you were alone. And I said, this sucks. I much prefer getting to the top with other people. And I was like, oh, that's the ethos of what we're trying to build. Like, you want to be building the community around you. It's not just about getting to the top. So that's why we named it Gondola. I don't know. I still have a poster that we made many moons ago about crediting creators. Launched it in 2022, and now we're cruising.
What has the reception been like overall?
Surprisingly positive from majority of people. I think that, like, if you asked most brands how they felt about creators using their content on portfolios, it's always been sort of a sticky point, right? Like, they did that for us. They had a job. It's not like they own that footage. They're work for hire. If they're freelancers and if they're employees, it's just their job. So who are they to take the content and do like and put it on their own site and get value from it? At the same time, there's a lot of people in our industry who will retweet something and say, I'm so humbled to work with this amazing brand, and nobody engages with that post. Everybody's like, okay, you're humbled. Like, you're just trying to tell us you made it. Why can't you just say, I made this video? So we've found this middle ground where creators can share what they worked on without having to be too humble or too arrogant about their role. And the creators love it. The brands aren't mad because they get credit and they get more data. So it seems like where most industries, when you're trying to be any kind of innovator, you piss off somebody. We haven't really pissed people off, and that's either a good thing or it means we're not successful enough.
Seeing this platform grow, can you also see like where the shift is going in terms of what skill sets or roles in sports content are most in demand right now?
Sure. I think that there has definitely been a movement towards building out, big freelancer and creative network armies, if you want to think of it that way. Like the idea now that you can access creatives around the globe at any moment means that you don't necessarily need to fly a small group of people to every single event for your team. So as long as you have good structures in place, you can have something that I'd say the NFL were the first innovators in this, like the LCC programs, which is like live content correspondence, people on the ground at every stadium. But now, even the smallest organization that wants to do shoots in a different city can spin that up, and we can help them out with that process so much easier. So, seeing a lot of the movement where instead of hiring agencies and production companies for run and gun shoots all over, being able to staff efficiently using Gondola sort of moved where that it's not that the production itself has changed, it's just how it's managed, who's capturing it. It's changed a lot.
Through Gondola, you also been now starting the Gondola Sports Summit. Tell me about the Sports Summit.
So back when I was at Twitter on the Vine days, we had this Twitter Sports Summit, and it was the best. It was like a family reunion for the social creative community, and we looked forward to it every year. I last spoke at it in 2022, I believe, or 20. Yeah, it must have been 22. And then in July of 23, I had this. It was post acquisition, I believe, by Elon. I had this like moment of sadness, and I was like, I missed the Twitter Sports Summit. It was the best. So I tweeted, I missed the Twitter Sports Summit. Should we bring it back? And I didn't actually, like, I wasn't being super serious, but then like 12 people liked it. And I was like, well, that's it. That's enough people. I should probably have an event. So the Gondola Sports Summit's first year was 24. We had like 375 people the first year. Second year, we had 501, I think, or 500 on the dot, one of the two. And then this year, we're expanding the venue, expanding the community, going to build 2 tracks, one for production and design, one for social marketing. And it's going to be awesome. And it's been a lot of work and a labor of love. And I also am so proud that it's here in Denver. I love that we're trying to build something in a place that's a hotbed of sports creative talent. And I love bringing people from all over the country and world to be with us.
You have a lot of international guests or attendees?
Oh yeah, we had Australians, we had Brits, we had a lot of Canadians. We have a good presence from all over. I think this year I'll be even bigger now that we're at an art museum instead of like the venue we were at the last couple of years, which was awesome. I just think that this news venue, we have enough space and we have a hotel that's adjacent to the venue. So it's going to be perfect. And if anybody internationally is watching this and wants to come and says, I'm paying thousands of dollars for my flight, can you please give me a discount? I'll say, you're coming here from overseas. I will cook you breakfast and it will mean the world to us. We love the perspectives of people outside of our normal orbit.
And you can add Sweden to the next year's. I'm coming.
Heck yes, you must.
Yes.
It's like, yeah. I have, because when you go to like a wedding or a family celebration, it always starts with, people came here from all over the world, like Sweden and the UK. I want to say Sweden next year. So Isaac, I expect you there. It's going to be great.
Yeah, I'm going to book my early bird ticket now.
The greatest, like arguably our favorite athlete we've ever worked with is a Swede, Gabe Landeskog. Avs captain is just a gem of a human. And if he heard that we were bringing more Swedes to Denver, he'd be stoked.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it. So it's going to be really fun. So now that you're running both a creative agency, but also like a tech company, it requires like different muscles, or what do you call it? How do you personally balance those two like worlds, and what lessons have you learned switching between them?
Oh, I don't balance them. I just constantly struggle. And I'm also trying to like raise 2 kids and trying to figure out how we can do more community impact things. So it's just a daily struggle. And as long as I don't sleep, my wife is just going to keep like being worried about my health, and I'm going to keep getting early emails done. But no, in all seriousness, the good news is Fresh Tape is day-to-day run by David Herman, our GM, who's just a gem. And it's a great lesson in like the best leaders probably are the best delegators, not actually the most talented people in the room. So David running the day-to-day of Fresh Tape has changed the trajectory of the company, and I get to be involved in sort of the fun things and the people stuff and the creative on the content side. On the Gondola side, similar thing. We just have really great team around me. So my balance, like my brain is everywhere at once. So I can have somehow in a meeting, I can be thinking with both hats on. And I've always thought analytically about creative. So it's never really conflicted. And I also love like I can take in feedback for Gondola from the Fresh Tape team that's sitting next to us in the office. We're all here together. So we all can sort of like we're building Gondola for people sitting next to us. And it's kind of awesome.
You mentioned with Fresh Tape Media that you get to work with like your favorite athletes or your favorite teams. So do you have any favorite content that you have produced over the years?
Be honest, so almost everything. So like in our office, if I move, is it going to mess up the camera feed? Let's see. Tell me if you can still see me.
I can still see you.
Let's see if this works. Sometimes when I move rooms, the feed gets busted. So like in our office, we have on the walls pictures from shoots we've done over the years, and we rotate them every year so that it's like a new, uh, different stuff from that's a bit more up to date. And the messy area over there is my desk. But I look at these and I get nostalgic about every single one. So the things I'm most proud of, the Landeskog doc, a clean sheet was like an amazing experience to put something together that was on HBO and TNT Sports and on NHL and TNT. That was a really great experience. And then I don't know, that's a tough one. I cannot. I think back nostalgically, not that I loved the pieces of content the most, but I think back of like what it was like being in a room with the NBA at our first All-Star game when I was doing the editing, and I'm a bad editor. But I was for some reason putting together these comps for this like silly diorama thing we did, and just like sending them through to the team. I think more about like how it felt like to create the content than I do about how the content looked. The content's great. We have the best pros in the world. We have great stuff. So it's more so just about feeling like what it was like to work on it with the team at the time.
Also a Swedish national team jersey on the wall there.
Oh yeah,
walking by. Yeah.
I was like, I'm not just pandering to your love for country, but it didn't hurt.
So, like creating content or working in this field, do you have any, we don't want to out anyone, but do you have like a pet peeve or something that you can see like when you see other content, like if you just want to dial it in some way to make it better? Do you have any like small things to add or change?
I know what our team is triggered by whenever somebody publishes something without like captions in line and whatnot, so that it's not accessible for audio off people. I get buzzed. I get peeved by that. I don't even care about bad color. Like when clearly didn't color footage, or did it terribly. I don't care. My team looks at that, they'll send it around like, oh my God, who did the color on this? And then what else are pet peeves? Yeah, the absence of hooks. Like I think that like the first few seconds really matter in social content. So when somebody thinks that something like will grow on them as they watch, that means they're just losing so much of their audience. So like when somebody thinks of it from a traditional film perspective and for a medium that is not traditional, that's what kind of probably gets me a bit like, what are you doing here? Otherwise, I don't like when creatives act like it's not awesome what we get to do with like the athletes when they're just like, oh, I don't care. I've worked with that player enough times. I get it if you've worked with them so many times that they actually treat you poorly. That's no fun. But when people act like we're not lucky to get to do what we do, and they make it seem like it's a chore, that kind of like, I don't know. I love feeling like it's never going to get there. And I want more people to feel that.
Myself, like when I started doing this maybe 16 years ago here in Sweden, I was like, especially in basketball or any other sports, I think sports content, I was like one of the first ones really like creating content online, doing like these highlights videos on YouTube or the things back in the day, was the big things. Now today in Sweden and all over the world, like there's so many content creators today in sports. So if you would try to break down 3 plays or 3 tips for young creators trying to get into the sports content scene or try to get hired or try to reach other teams or organizations to work in this field? What would be your tips or recommendations?
I think that one of the characteristics of a young creative that is more rare that I think would help people stand out, if you already have some of the creative chops and are you interested in the creative, to learn the data side and to learn how to think in Excel or Google Sheets, think in spreadsheets so that you understand the relationship to performance eventually and analytics and whatnot. But also just like when you find a creative that knows about sheets and knows about Excel thinking, they are also likely to understand how to build budgets. They're also likely to understand how to sort of produce and think a bit more chronologically. And so I would say if you're trying to perfect, like you'll get better through reps on the content production side. I love creators. I think creators should also focus on that on the business hard skill side. The next thing is everybody's so worried about getting the perfect job out of college in terms of the role and the company, I think, or out of university yet. Like, I think that it's much more important to get a role at a place with great humans that are going in good directions. Like I worked at Street Easy and those are still some of my best friends in the whole world because we were together building something and they were smart and sharp. And I don't wish for a second I got into the sports creative world earlier. Like I didn't rush to get here. It came when it came. So I would say put more pressure on yourself to find the right opportunity in the right team than with like the team capital T. And then last, this is I think that like building relationships and thinking of it less as networking and more about like forging friendships and meaningful connections is there's a lot of people that talk about boundaries and how they shouldn't think that way, and you shouldn't think of your team as a family, and you shouldn't think of your clients as friends, like because they can always hurt you. Like anybody in life can hurt you. I don't know how to say it any other way. Like we all are at risk of getting hurt every time we make ourselves vulnerable. But the biggest thing that I say is like if you can forge relationships with your clients that feel truly like meaningful connections and friendships, then like you can enjoy every sales spiel more. It doesn't feel like sales. It feels like you're calling a friend. I've never been good at sales. I've been good at calling friends with weird ideas. So if you're trying to get into the space and you have somebody who you admire and they're a really, really talented creative, go learn from them, not because they can hook you up with somebody at NBC, but because they're dope. And that's why I would forge that relationship.
Great advice, I think. And also, just when you mentioned the second advice, I just started thinking about how do you feel about in sports? Sometimes you can talk about being a youth athlete, that you can try different sports to then, like, it will help you also in your career later. How do you feel in like not just focusing on sports content? Is it also good to try other areas of content also? What do you feel about that?
I love that. Like I was talking to a friend who works for a basketball team. I'm not going to out who he is, who I was talking about Sports Summit, and he was like, yeah, we're going to send some folks, but like, I just want you to know, we're also trying to get our team exposure to completely non-sports things. I'm not having them necessarily follow sports channels on their feeds. I want them to follow Vogue and fashion brands and media companies and see what other people are doing to get inspiration. So if you told me you've never worked in sports a day in your life, could you get a job at Fresh Tape Media or Gondola? Like, oh yeah. It's not a reason to not hire somebody. If anything, these days it's pretty attractive. And if you're also on the other side of it, if you're not in sports and you want to hire a sports person, it's the best decision you'll ever make. We're nuts. We work way too hard. We care too much. We don't have an off switch. It's just like it's a wonderful group of humans. And I used to say that if you're a hard worker in New York, you'll be a hard worker in Denver, right? So like it's not like I came to Denver and became a bum. And I think that the same goes for like sports creatives. If you're a hard worker in sports and you get hired to work at a tech company, you're going to bust your butt there too.
If you imagine the future for sports content and also for creator credit, so how does the future and how does success look for you and for Gondola?
Success for me right now looks like, well, let's start with Gondola because like that's one of my let's call it 6 children. I have 2 girls, my dog, 2 companies. I guess it's 5 kids. Success for Gondola looks like when any creative in the whole world is thinking about sees a video, they know, oh, I'm going to go find out who made that on Gondola. That's the dream. That is the ultimate success. In a world where everybody's scared that they won't know what's made by AI and what's made by humans, I want the human creative community telling everybody what they made and helping empower each other. And then personal success, I want the kids to be happy and healthy. I want to find ways to continue building what we're doing, have bigger impact on my local community and local workforce development stuff, and on making sure that I'm being a good dad and hanging out with the girls. And yeah, I don't know. I think that if we look at this environment in a few years, 3 years, and people say, I felt more connected to the people in my life and to my industry because of Gondola the product, Gondola the Sports Summit, and any work that Fresh Tape created, I will have done my job right.
What's next for you, work-wise, coming up?
Gondola Replay comes out in a couple weeks, which is our annual sort of Spotify Wrapped. But we're genuine about this, and we do it in January, so it's a whole year of stats. How do you do a replay of in the middle of December? I don't get it. What about I actually have been curious if Mariah Carey's All I Want for Christmas Is You would be at the top. December was included in everybody's, and if that's why they don't do it in January like we do. But Gondola Replay is big for us. Sports Summit planning, and we have a bunch of big projects going to Super Bowl and NBA Cup and the All-Star game and like events for Live and whatnot. Like there's a lot going on next year, and we're really excited about it.
My last question always on this pod is if you would have or recommend any other creator or someone in sports content that you think should join this pod that would be interesting to learn from or hear from.
I text and see who I've been texting in the last couple of Scotty McKnight started Goat Farm Media. He is a former NFL player turned creative icon. He is the best. And I literally was late to start this because I was talking to him. So yeah,
I'll try to reach out.
He's the best. But if you need others, I'll just look at my text and it's not, I don't have like celebrities texting me. It's like my brother-in-law, my wife, my best friends from high school, a couple clients and friends, people asking me my address these days because of holiday card season. But it's also like my friends are like some of the coolest videographers and creative directors, and I'm so proud of all of them. So if you ever need more names, hit me up.
Also, for doing a podcast like this, Gondola is also perfect for me to find creators to talk to. It's amazing.
At gondola.cc/creators, search for people with who have collaborated with NBA teams and have been cinematographers, and just, oh my God, there's that person, or photographers. And then all of a sudden you're talking to Garrett Elwood, who's the Nuggets photographer, who's just a gem of a human too. And then you're off to the races. So thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was really amazing. Thank you, Jared.
I'll be rooting for Sweden third in the Olympics. I want you to get the bronze. I want gold to Canada, silver to the States. Take the bronze to Sweden. Nice to chat with you, man. We'll talk soon.
Yes. Take care.